So when you have a giant project like SouthWorks in a city that is not huge, like Ithaca, the risks for the project and the opportunities for the project also become the risks and the opportunities for the community. This is the largest project that Ithaca will likely ever see, at least in my lifetime. And it has a real chance to slot in right into a lot of Ithaca's needs. Like Ithaca desperately needs housing. It needs housing from top to bottom, market rate housing, middle income housing, workforce housing, affordable housing. And that's just one piece. It also needs spaces for all these startups that get spun out of Cornell. It needs spaces for the industry that's being attracted to the area, Binghamton and Syracuse, with these new big federal programs for our area. And with all of those opportunities, there's the risk that we get it wrong and we are not able to fill those needs. And we take what could be this giant asset for the community into an albatross. And that's sort of what it's been thus far. It's been this 95-acre polluted site. It's been a source of problems. And this is a chance to turn it into a real set of solutions, which is incredible. You know, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me, but also for this city. So the thing you get from watching a planning board meeting or a zoning appeals meeting or any sort of public meeting that's part of the development process is you get a sense of the mess and you get a sense of the back and forth because it's very difficult to capture the chaos in a textbook. Even really good case studies that really try to delve into the details and the uncertainty, by the time it reaches the student, it's certain, it's resolved. It's really hard to get back in that moment. And a public meeting's live. You watch it and it's really happening and it's really messy and different people in that room want different things. And there's an educational component in that. However, that's not how you should be thinking about those meetings, you know, not as an attendee. You should be thinking about service. The thing that has been the most educational for me in preparing myself for my current role has not been studying real estate at Wharton. It has been serving the city of Ithaca as the chair of its planning board. I learned how to run a meeting. I learned how to elevate not the loudest voice, but the smartest voice. I learned what the folks who care about development in this community care about. And all of that is crucial for getting this project right. The board deals with conflicts of interest very carefully. So the garden variety thing to do if there's a conflict is you recuse yourself for the relevant matters when you're on the board. That's standard. With my particular spot, A, because I was leading the board, and B, because SouthWorks is just so big, I had to step down from the board. There was no way for me to stay in that role and not put folks in a weird position. I was really sad to leave that board. I have a lot of affection for everyone involved in that process on the staff side, on the board side. I think it's a really good crew. But yeah, there wasn't any way for me to stay. We're all too careful for that. It cuts both ways. It's harder to make money when you are doing things other than making money. It's hard to serve God and mammon. That said, there are plenty of folks with money who have values who want to see those values reflected in their investment. So if you are really putting values at the core of what you're doing, there are sources of capital that become more open to you. So there are some advantages. But even with that, you're developing on hard mode. There's no two ways about it. It is much harder to execute something that both makes money and makes the world a better place. It's not trivial. Well, it's a big project, and there's going to be pieces of that are done internally and pieces of all of those things that are done externally. And I think that we are very open-minded as to what over the course of the next decade gets us to the finish line. All that said, it's a lot better to be able to do something than not. And it's great to be going into a large project like this with a set of owners and a set of allies that are able to execute on all sorts of different pathways. Well, it's nothing but interruptions. I've never been so behind as I have in the last 6 months. Because each day is an entirely list of things that you need to deliver than you necessarily started the day with. You said not linear, it's an understatement. It's all twists and turns. But as long as you can keep a vision of where you're headed, what you're trying to achieve, what you are trying to make happen on this 100 acres that needs to turn into a real neighborhood, then, the twists and turns become navigable.